So there's 46 of us now, so I will begin, and then as people come in, you can just pick up from where we are. But thank you everyone for joining today, and so pleased to see some external faces as well. A couple bits of housekeeping. So if you could put your, rather than on gallery view, if we can have it on speaker view, so when people are speaking, we can see you. Any questions that you do have, please just put them in the chat box and we can address them later at the end of the session. There is 10 minutes that we've allocated towards answering questions. Also, if you can keep on mute when people are speaking, I know that's quite obvious, but it still happens. And just to let you know that we are recording the session today as well. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Giselle and I chair RISE, which is our Diversity, Inclusion and Belonging initiative at Blis. So part of our mission is to educate within as well as engage with wider industry community to really drive social change. And I guess that's one of the reasons why we're here today. So I won't speak too much more because we do have an amazing panel today, and I've heard them speak earlier this week. And honestly, they need a whole series. They've got so much knowledge. But I am going to introduce you to our host. So Blis are actually partners with Brixton Finishing School, which was founded by our host today, Ally Owen. This woman is incredible and she is so motivated to really create a difference and to drive change. BFS mission is to really disrupt how the creative industry recruits, but they do so much more than that. And we are lucky enough to have recruited from this organisation, and the talent has honestly been amazing. So without further ado, I will pass you over to your host today, which is Ally Owen.
Oh, thanks so much, Giselle. And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Diversity Matters panel. I am honoured to be your host, partly because I don't think I'm going to be as shining star-like as the rest of my panellists, basically, who are much more adept at talking on this subject. And I hate to say it, a bit more interesting than me as well. But I'm going to quickly whip round, introduce you to the panel so they can say hello. I'll tell you a little bit about Brixton and then we're going to plunge into our discussion, if that's okay. So my first esteemed panellist is Colette Phillips. Colette is the founder of Brand by Me and the director of mentoring at MIFA. Colette, would you like to say hello, maybe say a couple of words about yourself?
Hi, I'm Colette. Ally said everything. I'm looking forward to getting going with this. You will hear that I have quite a challenging point of view that I'm looking forward to sharing with you.
I think challenging is actually the wrong, I think interesting, and in my mind, right point of view a lot of the time, Colette, just right. But there you go. I'm slightly biased. My next panellist is Maria St. Louis, who is Inclusion and Diversity Manager at Channel 4. Maria, are you there to say hello? I'm on my mobile, so I can't see everybody's view. So Maria's off my screen.
Hello, Ally, and hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm really delighted. And I mean, I work in the corporate space, unlike Colette, who's kind of founded her own business, but we are very much birds of a feather. We kind of have a similar mindset. And I agree with what you said there, Ally, about being the right mindset. Sometimes it's difficult, though. But yeah, here for the conversation and hopefully to bring some more people along the way.
Oh, thanks, Maria. In the pre-show chats, one of my most amazing things I listened to was Colette and Maria just kind of riffing off each other. So I'm delighted we can bring that to you today. My next honourable guest is Diane Alagar from Wavemaker. Diane is digital partner at Wavemaker and also, I believe, has invested heavily in a diverse media ecosystem. So Diana, would you like to say hello?
Yes, it's absolutely lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to say, yes, I work at Wavemaker. I'm a digital partner. I'm also part of a group that's described as Wavemaker Together. And we effectively are teaching our clients and our teams how to ensure that our plans are inclusive. Our strapline, if you like, or our mantra is all about being positively provocative. So that's the language that we're using to again ensure we're doing the right things by our clients, but also for our people as well.
Sorry about that, I had problems with my mute. I love positively provocative. I can't even speak, positively provocative. I'm very brave strapline because I've already tripped over that and I've only tried it once. I love the word provocative. And finally, I'd like to welcome Diane Perlman, who I believe quite a few of you know because she is obviously your Chief Marketing Officer. Diane, would you like to say hello?
Yes, I'd be delighted. Well, I'm super excited to be part of this esteemed panel. Again, as you said, Ally, in the pre-chat, just some really interesting points of view, some amazing things that need to be said and discussed. And I'm really glad we have the opportunity to talk about that here today. I've been really involved in developing and building our grassroots diversity initiative here at Blis called Rise, which Giselle is chairing up. And yeah, so I have a high interest in what we're doing here, and I'm really delighted to be here today.
Thanks, Diane. So just a bit of kind of background. Obviously, the title of this panel is Diversity Matters. Of course it does. That's quite obvious, at least to me. And I presume most of the people on this call as well. Obviously, we know the world is a diverse place, but amazingly, there seems to be some kind of filtration that happens when people enter our spaces. And I think I really believe, and I realise I'm quite clearly a Caucasian person, but I believe that inclusion is an everyday action and choice that everybody should be taking. And I've set out to be a very useful Caucasian person and make as much positive change as I can, if that makes sense. So when Giselle mentioned I founded Brixton Finishing School, first of all, thank you for being our partners. I know that lots of you have mentored and spent time with our talents, and I believe that maybe I've got a talent or two on this call to come through our programs. I come from an industry background, and in the 25-30 years I was in the industry, I always felt like a bit like an outlier. I'm very socially mobile. I'm also a single mum, so I wasn't necessarily I didn't have the characteristics of what normally wins in this industry. That didn't stop me fighting hard, working really hard, as I imagine a lot of people on this call are, to get as far as I could. But there came a point, and I'm going to call it the Katie Hopkins incident, where I decided I couldn't stay with the status quo anymore. And I stepped out and I decided to create an alternative system, which hopefully would rebalance and include more voices within our industry. And this was going to be an alternative talent pipeline in. And I'm very blessed that Brixton Finishing School, which started in 2018, has grown from a small London project that found what I term, I don't necessarily, found talent from the majority of people who aren't included in the industry. So that's people who are multicultural, people who are white and socially mobile, and also people who possess wonderful neurodiversity. We trained them with our wonderful partners and placed them in roles. So since we've done Brixton, we've expanded nationally to the Academy, which is a national version of Brixton, and it's got about, I think, 620 students active at the moment. We've also launched a schools programme to try and intervene a bit earlier, because our kind of world, we just haven't been kind of reaching out to different communities. And I know Diane Alagar will come on to this. Very much, we've only focused on getting voices in from a singular community, and now is the time to reach further. And excitingly this year, we also launched a project for women over 45. Yay, because I'm a woman over 45, so I'm going to give myself a cheer. So I feel that all women over 45 need an occasional cheer, which is training them. Women over 45, and we've got I think we had 299 women active, nearly 300, but I'm being honest. And they are being trained in programmatic and paid media roles. The pilot is funded by WPP, but we are going to go bigger next year. And I hope to see some of those wonderful women at Blis. So I think for me, I've tried to be as useful as I can about changing the talent pipeline on the way in, due to the barriers of class and race, ableism, neurotypicality, and also location. I'm also very, very aware that not only bringing people in is a problem, retaining them is. I'm sure all of us have read the All Means All census data. And when we look at the retention rates around not only social mobile, but particularly around a race perspective, 22% of our Asian talents were thinking of leaving the industry, not even thinking they were determined to leave. And very, very concerningly, because they are gold dust. 27% of our black talents were thinking of leaving the industry. So we've clearly got a humongous amount of issues that we need to resolve. The good news is we're going to discuss some ways we can overcome them on this next panel. And I'm delighted to go to my first panelist, Colette Phillips, with the question, what does diversity mean to you? What does it look like when it's done well? And how can we make it, when it's done well, last a bit longer, permanently if possible? Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. That is such a big question, isn't it? And it's also 3 parts, which I think is unfair. So if I lose myself in the way, you might have to come back and remind me. So the first thing, what does diversity mean to me? Well, Ali said it in the introduction, diversity is a fact of this world, right? It is a fact. It's not something that's up for debate. It is not something that is a choice or a nice to have. It is a fact of the world we're in. So we need to, when we talk about diversity, actually, we should really be, I guess we're even starting from the wrong place, because actually the issue is not diversity. The issue is the blocks and barriers that are put up and reinforced that stop that diversity from being a fact in the industry that we work within, and more importantly, that stop people from diverse backgrounds from really being able to thrive and progress within the industry. So I guess, what does it look like when it's done well? Well, actually, what it looks like when it's done well is that we're actively tackling those systemic barriers, and we're working to really dismantle those structures that are stopping. And we're actually really open about what those are, and we're honest with ourselves about what it is. So I can draw on a couple of, I said, as it was in the introduction, I am Director of Mentoring at Media for All. So we're all about helping Black, Asian, and talent from other minoritized ethnic backgrounds thrive. We do that in 3 pillars. We have recruit, which means 2 things. One, it's about bringing people into the industry from an early stage, so making people aware. We do a lot of outreach work. And we then also, we do publicize roles within our network. We have a pillar called Retain, which is all about making sure, and that's what Ali also spoke to, making sure that we can keep the brilliant talent, minoritized ethnic talent that is in our industry. And we also have a pillar called Rise, and Rise and Retain are both achieved through our mentoring program, which is probably what we're best known for. I guess in terms of what good diversity looks like and how to succeed, and this is what we've learned from MIFA, I think it's really important that when we are doing anything around diversity, equity, well, first of all, if we're doing anything around diversity, equity, and inclusion are also at the heart of it. The second thing is that if we're doing something around diversity, equity, inclusion, it is led for and developed by the minoritized communities that we're looking to serve. So if we're doing something around Black people, it needs to be for and led by Black people. That's why our Media for All mentoring is so successful, because we have brilliant mentors from across the media and advertising industry. They are all people of color, and we are very clear that our mentoring program is specifically also for people of color. So it means by doing that, by making sure this is for and by people of color, it means that we can respond to and navigate the very specific and unique barriers that it places to be a person of color in this industry. I also know about those firsthand because I spent the first decade of my career in advertising, and I had, at once the best and worst time of my career. So I guess that's one example. I guess the other thing I'd point to, and it is part of this, is making sure that we create spaces for minoritized, create safe and open spaces for minoritized groups to come together to really explore and address the challenges that come up. So the example I'll give of that is, so my business is called Brand by Me. We do a lot of work helping brands embed social justice. As part of that, one of the things we've worked on is a set of workshops with NABS, the advertising charity, around the power of personal brand, specifically for people of colour, because we know that things like, there's a lot, when we talk about personal brand and promoting ourselves at work and being our authentic selves, this stuff is kind of thrown around. However, it takes on a different perspective when you are from a minoritized ethnic background, when you're Black, Asian, or from another minoritized ethnic background, because things like when people talk about imposter syndrome, it's not just something that's in your head, it is a direct result of the structural racism that you may or may not experience, but that causes people to do things like stereotype you, or causes you to feel like actually you need to code switch. So I guess the point of this is that we need to create very specific spaces to make sure that we are able to nurture our talent, to make sure that we are able to help that talent thrive, but also that are directly addressing and acknowledging the structural barriers that are faced. Now, I've spoken specifically from a race point of view, but diversity I know is much wider than that, but my specific lived experience and the area that we focus on is race, so that's why I've spoken about it. I will point to organizations such as Advertising, who are doing the same within the LGBT community, and very good work along the way. And what does it look like? I guess the final bit, and then I'm going to stop. Final bit is, what does it look like to sustain this? We need to commit, we need to invest, and we need to do the work, the very difficult work of dismantling the structures that sit behind this stuff, rather than just treating the symptoms of it. So I guess, and Maria will speak to this quite specifically, so I'm not gonna steal her thunder, but I'm gonna say that often we see that, you know, initial moments where we see great sort of diversity initiatives start to take hold, but rather than focusing on, okay, what does this mean to give this longevity, to embed this, to take it forward, we see leaders we see that a lot of the effort and energy behind that is placed on the minoritized communities themselves, which is an issue. The second thing is that leaders, rather than, you know, well, of course, I'm really happy to support those initiatives, but I guess when the thought should be around what can we do to take this further, to embed this, to do longevity, we see a lot of leaders that are just busy congratulating themselves for having got out of the way and done something once. So I guess that's where I get to is I guess the question of sustaining it means leaders actually, rather than congratulating themselves, one, passing the mic to the people that actually did the work, and two, actually looking at what do we need to do to sustain this and embed it into systems and structures. That's it for me.
Mic drop. Thank you, Colette. There was so much in there. First of all, I'd like to thank MIFA for mentoring some of our Brixton talents, actually. It's amazing. I think MIFA are an incredible organisation. And I absolutely heard what you said about safe spaces as well. Yeah, and also a call to arms. I do feel as if, you know, these like outstanding diversity projects are like little trophies that people go, look, I did one. Oh, let me just put that in the cabinet so it can get a bit dusty. Actually, it needs to be an everyday work to resolve this, because it's an injustice. Maria St. Louis. Now, Colette slightly lined you up there. I know when we're talking about spaces and when you create special things, that Channel 4's amazing Black to Front initiative was, yeah. Would you like to tell us more about that, and also talk about your view of diversity, how we can embed it in our everyday actions as well?
Yeah, so I mean, firstly, I'd say, I mean, I agree with what you said and what Colette said also, in that, you know, diversity is a fact, and diversity is just difference, and diversity is for everyone. It includes everyone, you know. I think that there's a real need to acknowledge as well that diversity is more, and inclusion and equity that comes with it is much more than marketing, and it is much more than any initiative. But I don't think any initiative can ever really bring about the social justice, racial justice that we're really looking for. So I think that it's really incumbent on organisations to be held accountable, hold themselves accountable, and allowing those within their organisations to hold them accountable. Because I mean, the Black to Front project, which you mentioned there, Ally, it's an amazing example of what great things can happen. And that was like a single day. However, the real focus at Channel 4 has been, and the conversations within the organisation have been about what is the legacy moving forward. And so it kind of really just play into the idea that on-screen matters, you know, on-screen matters, what you see, that is the marketing element though, because that is just a visual, and the off-screen element, which is what the programming for Black to Front did, was always front and centre and stage when that project was going about, was that the talent that was creating the programme directed the narrative, that they were Black as well. And then the other element of that for me that follows with on-screen and off-screen is also in your own backyard, for want of another expression. And it's like, so many brands, you know, they came together for the advertising element of Black to Front project, and ultimately moving forward, what can they do? I mean, it's definitely got to be about looking within your own backyard, literally that, looking within your organisation and seeing what can you do. That said, that goes for Channel 4 also, you know, how can we replicate what we've done with the Black to Front project and actually incorporate that into the way that we do things, because things were done in quite an unconventional way for the Black to Front project, and it kind of just goes to show what talent is there, because the argument that where is the talent cannot be an argument anymore, because the talent is there. It's about, you know, like making space for those voices, making space for those people. And from a race and ethnicity perspective, you know, you can't really hide, you know, if you're Black. So if you're gay, if you're disabled, you can hide that, you know. If you're fairer skinned, you can be white passing, for example. So I think the real key in breaking through in the racial justice area is actually a real acceptance and recognition that we are still operating from a place of white supremacy, which sounds quite radical and it sounds quite uncomfortable to people to hear that. However, the society as we know it now, you know, it was founded off of all of the things that have gone before in history, and no one has assessed, changed the system that it was founded on, and we're still operating from that area of white supremacy where one race is better than the other, when the reality is, you know, where this is about humanity, and diversity is a fact of life. Diversity is a fact in business. It's a fact that businesses that are more diverse, more representative, have voices of all types of people within their organisation, and really key to that is in decision-making roles. They are the most profitable, they are the most progressive, and the younger generation, for certain, you know, they expect, and not only expect, demand better of and have high expectations of brands, of organisations. And so therefore, for organisations to actually be relevant, I think that they really do need to make space, and they need to just get on board and do what needs to be done and stop with the resistance.
Thanks, Maria. I love that. Stop with the resistance. Thank you so much for that. What you mentioned about diverse organisations being more successful, yeah, they make more money, and I think we're all aware of McKinsey's, I think it's plus 35% figure if you've got a really diverse workforce. Harvard Review did a study recently where if you have a diverse leadership team, C-suite, you actually produce 19% more revenue a year. So even if you're not into justice, though I hope everybody on the call is, if you're into just cold hard cash, there's still a reason to get behind this. So I hope you're a mixture of both. I really like what you said about kind of how Channel 4 created a safe space and invested in different voices, and how, yeah, obviously we need to embed that legacy wise. Coming to Diane Alagar, because obviously there's two Dianes, obviously I know you've worked really hard to embed kind of, you know, minoritized publications into the media planning business, so they get better funding, and therefore that means there's more money in the ecosystem to give people voices, etc. Would you like to take us through that?
Love to. So yeah, first of all, just to echo what's already been said, it is so important for us to be working with different partners that offer us, you know, different opinions, richness of editorial, richness of audiences, and all of that value. And that obviously is of benefit to our clients. So it's up to us to kind of be there, understand this marketplace, which is complex. It's full of, you know, niche publications, sites, a wealth of different platforms, some of which can be more sophisticated than others, some of which can have more of a following than others. So at Wavemaker, we've got a lovely forum, it's called Who What Wow, and we invite different media partners to come in every Friday. We're doing it virtually now, but in the old days, we used to do it obviously in person, and hopefully we'll get back to that. But this is an opportunity for us to introduce those partners, both big and small, from a variety of different communities to our teams, and we invite clients to those forums as well. So that's the first kind of part. We need to really understand this marketplace and be able to talk knowledgeably about that to our clients, and talk about the value of those audiences, the value of that editorial, the value of those partnerships. But the second part really is we've got to balance a variety of different things for our clients. So we've got to balance things like brand safety. We've got to balance whether we think it's going to perform at the same level of expectation as some of the more traditional media partners that we've been working with. And all of that is kind of, a risk element. Nationwide are a well-known building society, but are a client that clearly need to reach everyone purely because of who they are. They are, a mutual beneficial organisation, and they've really kind of taken this baton and run with it. And I have to say, are certainly at the forefront of it in the agency. But what I'm so proud to talk about today, and I'm taking credit for another team's work, but the work that we've done with Nationwide, first of all, to start to test and learn with these partners, start from small levels of investment, which have now grown. This is now just part and parcel of the plan. This is our business as usual. This is not something niche on the plan that's 20%. This is absolutely kind of part and parcel of that. And I think what was so brilliant about working with a client who is embracing this is that we've collectively kind of realized that these partners work in different ways as well. Some of their products, some of the way that they sell, their advertising offering, it's different, and it could be much more conversational than that very, very professional PowerPoint, all singing, all dancing thing that we might be used to from the likes of others. So we've recognised that we need to adapt and work differently with these partners, and actually for some of them, help them just get on the schedule. So we've worked with Nationwide and the IAB just to produce a really simple one-pager. This is more from a digital point of view to help some of these sites to kind of improve the quality of their kind of content, to improve the quality of their kind of advertising spaces so they're more viewable, because our clients definitely want their ads to be viewed, and just giving them that guidance and kind of said, look, we will invest in you, we will test you. And the more investment, as you said, Ally, that we put into this ecosystem, the better those opportunities are, the more audiences that we will hopefully engage as well. And it's sort of like this lovely kind of mutual beneficial relationship all round. So that's where we're going. We've still got a lot of work to do. But, for us, it is about, making sure that we are knowledge about this marketplace, making these recommendations to our clients, and talking about it in terms of that valuable audience and that valuable content as well. So yeah, it's been really exciting. It's been really exciting.
I think it's just so joyful for me to hear this, because the irony of something being termed mass market without including masses of very relevant people, it's just the ultimate moment of, what, are we kidding ourselves? We're actually targeting properly. As an industry that prides itself on being able to deliver tailored, targeted messages, we have just been, I think, completely unself-aware and blind to whole valuable segments of our consumer base for so long. And it's just wonderful that you're investing and also helping educate on both sides, but also as well making it just an everyday normal thing we do. There isn't any walls, there isn't any segmentation. It's just part of the plan. I think that's really joyous. So thank you. Thanks for that. Now I'm going to move to Diane Perlman now, because I know that Blis, obviously Brixton Finishing School's partner, so slightly biased, have worked hard to embed diversity at the heart of their business. And I know that you produced a charter. So I wanted to ask you, Diane, what diversity means to you, if you could tell us a bit more about the charter and how that's going to embed a legacy of inclusion within the business.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, it's a great question and something that we have been working hard at, but we are on a journey, and I think we've made a lot of progress, but we're still very early on in that journey. As Giselle was saying, RISE is a grassroots movement within the company, something that we created kind of in the wake of the horrific George Floyd murder. I think as many companies that served as a catalyst, and it's a very unfortunate that we had to have that catalyst moment, but that did help to catalyze us and got a lot of people motivated around looking at diversity across the board, not just racial diversity, but diversity of all kinds, and making sure that we could make Blis as diverse and inclusive an environment as possible. So we put together a group of people from across the company. Giselle put her hand up to chair our committee, which was really, really wonderful. And I've been working closely with her in a mentoring capacity and helping to drive initiatives, but we've got people from across the business involved, and that's really exciting. And I think that's really the key. We need that involvement. It can't just be something that's top down. And we absolutely said at the beginning that we never wanted this to be that trophy that collects dust on the shelf. This is about actually trying to educate and create real change. So, our mission with RISE is to create this powerful culture of inclusivity and belonging that embraces diversity, encourages people to come to work as their authentic selves, to educate people about matters of equality, which is part of what we're doing here today, and the kinds of education initiatives we've been doing, and then also engaging with the wider industry to drive social change. And to I think it was Maria's point about not being tokenistic. I think we were very careful about not going out publicly. A lot of people were we're changing their social media tiles and things like that, and we took a specific view that we weren't going to be loud externally until we had our programs and our ship in order internally. And we felt that in order to be able to talk the talk, we had to walk, and we still do have work to do, but we've really rallied around this, and we wanted to make sure that there was there. So firstly, we embedded diversity inclusion within our company values. So we rolled out some new values earlier in this year, and diversity, inclusion, and inclusivity is one of our 4 key values within the company. And then we also have made it one of our core objectives. We do objective setting on a half-yearly basis at the moment, and we have a Dni objective within there. This is so that everyone can keep it front and center in our minds, and we have things we're working towards. And the RISE committee, develops their goals, and we actively work towards that. And so this is how we're trying to keep it alive. We have weekly company meetings. Giselle and others from the diversity committee are there educating, talking about different ways that people are celebrating different holidays and observances across different religions and different cultures, so that people can have better understanding, because we do believe that understanding will lead to progress and acceptance in this area. And also we created this diversity committee, and again, it wasn't just something that that an exec team or some senior leaders sat in a room and said, this is what we should be talking about. We actually challenged everyone in the company to meet in smaller groups within their teams, to come up with ideas for what kinds of things that we would be happy to be able to raise our hand and say, yes, we believe in these values, these behaviors, and we're proud to be working at a company that espouses this and welcomes this. So this is everything from areas like being actively anti-oppression of any kind, to how we communicate, to how we give and receive feedback, to being aware that and ensure that others have a voice, to seek understanding and also empathy. So we have 10 points in that charter that all came from the voice of the people across the company. So we're aiming for 100% sign up of the company. We've created a little mechanism where people can go in and actually sign it. So that's displayed within our internal wiki, and we're about to publish the charter onto our website as well externally. But this is the first external event we've done, and I think this is a great sign that we are making strides within our initiatives within the company, and we're committed to continually improving and evaluating and working on this important work that we're doing here.
Thanks, Diane. I really like well, first of all, I hope everybody on this call has signed up if they're a member of Blis. I will be watching all of you. Secondly, I love what you said about people posturing around this kind of thing, because there's a lot of performatism. Is that my right word? Performatism, I believe the word is. I didn't go to posh school, so I'm probably not going to get it right, but I think I've got the meaning across, where you posture one way because you think it will get you credits, and but actually you're not doing any of the work behind it. One of my main irritations in life is when people do that. So I think it's really important things aren't a tick box. Colette, I'm sure you may wish to share some opinions on things not being a tick box.
Yeah, I think people often worry about tokenism, right? So we don't want to be seen to be doing tokenistic stuff, so then they do nothing, and it's like, well, there's a whole wealth of action in between it. I think for me, and actually just reflecting on what everyone said so far, I want to pick up a couple of things. I think the first one is it's making sure it's not a tick box. You need to move beyond representation, which means honestly moving beyond just looking for and focusing on diversity as the end goal, because actually we need to look at moving beyond representation. So we're not just all looking for, okay, that person ticks that box and that's it, to actually looking at making sure that we have got people from minoritized communities that are able to come in, thrive, be their authentic selves, and really get ahead and win in the spaces that, as Maria has pointed out, have been carved out for people that just do not look like them at all, or look or feel or aren't like them at all. So we need, first of all, we need to be making sure that people can not just thrive in those spaces, but actually we need to be changing those spaces and what that looks like. We spoke a bit about that before. The second thing, building on what Alagar said, I love, one of my big things is about power of partnership, right? And that's a fantastic example what Wavemaker are talking about. Actually, if we want to make sure this is not a tick box, you can't do this on your own. You need to be actively partnering with organizations, businesses, companies, individuals that are from the minoritized groups that you're looking to bring in. And when I say partnering, I don't mean, and don't get me wrong, I love doing a panel. Don't get me wrong, I loving this. But it's not just about bringing people on as inspirational speakers. It's actively spending money with these businesses, doing what Di said in terms of providing commercial opportunities, long-term commercial opportunities through partnership. And as the Wavemaker example shows, breaking down barriers, because we know that it's really unfair to expect a independent publication to have the same resources as the Telegraph, for example. So one always gets the money and the ad space. That can't be fair. So we need to be looking at how we can kind of level that up, level that playing field. So that's a really good example there. I'm just looking at my notes, because my third thing, I guess, is around, is about, let's talk about gatekeepers. Because as agencies, we often play the role as gatekeeper. Our clients come to us, and then we funnel out resources elsewhere. So with that role, we have immense power, and it's about making sure that we are actively trying to address and break down structural barriers as we come up against them, rather than being the ones that are getting in the way. We need to get out of the way and make sure that we're able to, I don't know, someone used the word, widen, broaden our ecosystem so that everybody wins. And so we're making sure we're including organizations led from and led by and for minoritized groups as part of it. And I guess part of that getting out of the way means accepting that there is going to be an element of discomfort to this, and not just accepting that, but really leaning into it. I often say to the clients that Brand by Me works with, that we should use discomfort as our injustice radar. So when we start feeling uncomfortable, rather than running away from it or just saying, okay, obviously that can't be race, or, oh, of course that person's not this, or of course that's not homophobia, it must be something else. We need to lean into the discomfort and interrogate it and use it as a radar to say, actually, there's an injustice here. Because if I am feeling uncomfortable, it's because there's something bumping up against maybe an area where I hold privilege or something like that. So just use that as a sign that injustice is at play. And, you know, someone, and this is not my phrase, it was the head of diversity at Mediacom said this. He said one of their biggest learnings on their D&I journey was she had to lean into into discomfort, not just tolerate it, not try to work around it, actually lean into it. And I have to say that that's where I see organizations that are moving forward in that space. It's that they're leaning into the discomfort of maybe at times getting it wrong, being called out, having to acknowledge that actually you are structurally, you are currently part of a very oppressive system, whatever that looks like, just leaning into that discomfort so that you can start to address it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I was raised in the 1970s in England, which we all know, very structurally racist times, incredibly so. And I've spent, now I run Brixton, but over the last 5 years of running it, I'm mostly in discomfort most days. Why? Because I'm trying to unprogram myself from all the program I've received. And do you know what? Now I view it as when I sense a bit of, I think, that's another bit of work I've got to do. I know, yeah. Whereas at the beginning I was like, feels weird. But 100%. Over time, as you get more used to the work.
When I feel it, like when I feel that discomfort, I almost like, that's exactly what I need to move to the top of my priority list.
Yeah.
I used to be like, I don't want to do it. And I think, Claire, if you're feeling that discomfort, you need to move that right to the top of your priority list, because it means there's something here that you need to address, particularly when it's in even our own, even within my own consultancy. That's exactly what I do.
I think that bravery is something we can all individually be courageous around, feeling uncomfortable, because true courage is going for the change. It's not I think sinking into yourself and not changing. I mean, I'm sure that's not going to be great for you long term, because you're going to sit in your own stuff. But anyway, I'm going to come, slightly off piece there, so I'm going to go back to Maria now. Maria, what do you think we should do to stop the tick box exercises happening?
So I think overarching anything that gets done, I think there's got to be a willingness and a preparedness to kind of do things in an unconventional way, because becoming an anti-racist organisation or making statements about being an anti-racist organisation or gender equality equal organisation, all of these things, they're great statements, but if there aren't enough representation of women, Black people, Black women is especially underrepresented in many organisations, especially in decision-making roles. Like, what are we going to do that's unconventional to address that imbalance? Because if an organisation, Channel 4 is one such organisation that has been, we've set ourselves a target with regards to Black, Asian, minority ethnics within the organisation and within leadership. But if we don't hit that target, what do? Do we just move that target back until we then hit it? I think it's incumbent on organisations to be prepared to do something that is unconventional, because I think the systems and processes that are in place in organisations for progression, for recruitment, for anything, all that they are by default, not saying it intentionally, but by default they are oppressive. They are, they're restrictive in who kind of makes it through and makes it up. And as Colette does with me for that, the recruit, retain and rise, who rises through any organisation. And I said it in 2019, like in Channel 4, we printed 14 key insights into inclusion and diversity, and I said, what I was quoted saying in there, and it's still the same today. I still stand by that, because I found that to be the truth. That is, if you do not have representation at every single level within your organisation for all various groups. I speak, as Colette does, from a Black lived experience, because I'm a Black woman, right? I can't take that away from myself. But if I don't see, for example, and any new people coming into the industry, so it's no wonder, people are wanting to leave the industry, especially those that are from minoritized groups. If you don't see yourself represented at every single level, not just at the bottom and not just at the very top, but everywhere, there's no clear pathway for you. It's because if you can't see it, then you can't be. You can against all odds, but ultimately the status quo will have you believe, and it will play out that way. That if you can't see it, it's very hard to be it, because who's going to nurture you, sponsor you, and support you on your journey up there? So it really does take away from people's sense of belonging, and it really does impact their progression within any organisation quite disproportionately. So I think, just if I was to say every organisation to do anything, it would be to do something unconventionally. And lastly, rather than focusing on Black History Month, which is a great time, we should be looking to working towards Black Justice Month in October. So as Black History Month ends in October, perhaps as of November all the way through to the end of September 2022, we should be putting into place the actions that we are actually intending on doing them, and then actually showcasing those in October. And that is what we call Black Justice. And we could do that for every other diverse group. And that's, I think that's the way forward. So unconventional and purposeful.
Well, personally, I'm signing up Brixton Finishing School to Black Justice Year, whenever you want to launch it. I realise we're starting to get towards 5:30, so I'm going to move to Diane Alagar, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to move on to takeaways, if that's okay. So Diane, obviously I don't strike me as a tick box person. So would you like to share your thoughts on tick boxing?
Yeah, I think what's really lovely about what we've done at Wavemaker is, instead of having like a satellite operation of what I would describe as specialists, we have, created something called Wavemaker together. So as I said, it's about us being there to kind of teach and mentor and show people the way without doing the work for them. But it is up to every single Wavemaker to be baking inclusivity into everything that we're doing, from strategy through to planning, through to activation, through to, just genuinely coming with provocations for our clients as well, and sort of saying, potentially, Mr. Client, we need to be thinking more about reaching these audiences because of the value that they bring to us. So I think that's the first part. Is this isn't about having a department or a division. This is actually about making sure that we educate at every level. And I completely agree with you, Maria, in terms of what you were saying. This comes kind of top down, bottom up. I think that the second thing that we're doing, again, to try and ensure that there is still this momentum, is by celebrating the richness of the communities within our organisation. And we have something called click culture, again similar to something that you said, Diane, where we have individuals from whatever background having that opportunity to talk about something that they wish to celebrate in relation to their culture, or to just something that they're is interesting to them in their community. And this again just enables us to hear a range of voices. This is not about level, it's just about something that's interesting, an opinion you might have, or a book you might have read, or a film, anything that you want to basically celebrate, or an event, or something that's happening in your thing. So I think, like you said, this is about us kind of continuing to drive that momentum, continue to have those conversations with our clients, whether they're uncomfortable or not, using tools and research to back it up, and we've got something called a Dni Checker. God, I wish I could talk a bit longer, but we've got something, which actually is providing evidence in terms of whether our plans are diverse or not, and if they're not, how we can address that and rebalance them. So this is something we have created, and it shows our client, it just shows them in black and white whether we're doing the right thing or not. So, sorry, I will stop now, but yeah, there's lots of ways for us to make sure that it's baked in.
Can I ask you for a takeaway, Diane Alagar? Is that okay while you're online? Because we're in the last 5 minutes.
Yes, please. Takeaway is, to be talking to our teams and our clients from an agency point of view. It's like, be curious, educate, and please don't let fear overtake what could be a really valuable opportunity for you.
I love that. Don't let fear overtake you. Diane Perlman, do you have a takeaway for us, please? Apart from sign up to your charter, which is clearly a must do.
We want everyone to sign up. Thank you for helping us plug that. I appreciate it. So, I mean, I think that, there've been so many amazing things and takeaways said today. One of the things that I'll leave with is actually something that came up at we did some in-depth training with Fearless Futures, which was amazing, and also at times quite uncomfortable. So I could really relate to some of the points you made, and I loved the phrase where you talked about use discomfort as a justice radar, and I think that's amazing. But one of the takeaways that I had from that, that it was an in-depth week-long session that we did, was that that no one deserves to no human deserves to feel or suffer any injustice or oppression, and we have to actively, you know, work to that. And if we're not actively doing something, then we're not doing anything, you know. So it's something that we have to be thinking about every day. And I really took that on board for me, you know, personally, and internalize that. And that's part of what, you know, what drives me with these initiatives that we have. And, you know, and I agree, it's not just having panels like this. You have to, you know, you have to do real meaningful things. And we, you know, we are, you know, working with MIFA, we're working with Brixton Academy. And one of the things that we've done this year is kind of a regroup on RISE to make sure that we've got representation in each region, and we've got and we're actively seeking the right partnerships that can give us opportunity to, you know, to mentor, to provide development, to learn, you know, and to get those kinds of inputs into our community and external from the inside where we can be helpful. So that's what I would say there.
Thanks, Diane. That was great. Colette, how would you like to give a takeaway?
Yeah, I Diane, Fearless Futures, hearing you say to Fearless Futures is just music to my ears, because when I've equally done their anti-oppression training, and that was actually going to be my call to action in terms of do that, because it is just, they do these intro sessions, even if you can't do the full course, it's brilliant.
It's very intense.
But what I will say is that, okay, so we've been talking a lot about leaning into discomfort. We've talked about the power of partnership. And actually, I will say, I'll leave two takeaways. One is, put your money where your mouth is. Actually, if you're asking people to do stuff for free, or you're expecting it, or you are, if you're asking people to do stuff for free, that is a whole issue. Because actually, when there was a time when minoritized groups were asked to do stuff for free, and that's not something we want to go back to. So that's my first thing. My second thing, and it's probably counter to this, because we've been talking about a lot about oppression and leaning into just injustice. I want to recognize that this is joyful work. It's what Diane said, right? This is the stuff that should get us up in the morning. This is the stuff why we are here, because ultimately, and it's exactly what Diane said, no one should be laboring under the weight of oppression. We just shouldn't do it. So if we have an opportunity, and we all do have an opportunity to do something about it, why wouldn't you? And if you do, we're gonna endorse it. It will be joyful work for you. It just will. So keep going.
Do you know what? I feel I've got the best job in the world, Colette. I love getting up and doing my job because it is joyful. Change is joyful. Hope is joyful. Maria, please, can you be my final takeaway?
Hello, Ellie. So my final takeaway is really the same sort of theme, if I'm honest with you, is to lean into that discomfort and to question yourself as an organisation, as a brand. You know, how are we being anti-racist, and basically really working towards that. So not actually giving yourself that label, but coming from the position of, by default, recognising that by default, historically, that actually the system that we are all navigating through is oppressive, and actually many organisations systemically, without recognising it or intentionally doing it, are operating in a way that is constituting what could be racist. So actually working from that base and actually trying to make the change from there, from a place of kind of accepting and willingness to make space for authentic Black voices. And lastly, I would say that within that the role of kind of HR really needs to be looked at as well, because there needs to be an element of humanity within all of this work and all of this process of recognising that human resources needs to be for the humans and not just for the business.
That was a wonderful close. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I think that's it. We are humanity. And I think we could, all be so much more happier and hopeful if we work together. So, I've just got to say, this has been an absolute pleasure to listen to you all and host you all. I feel I've taken so much out of it. I realise we're kind of on the time. So I'm going to pass back to Giselle here, because I feel she's probably more timely than me. What's next?
Thank you. Honestly, everyone, that was absolutely amazing. We have 4 minutes left. So if anybody does have any questions, please do let us know now. While we still have the
and also, I suppose, if anybody wants to link in or follow us on social, or get in touch with link in with any of the panelists afterwards, is that okay, panelists? Because I've no doubt it'd be lovely that people want to find out more about all your work as well, and maybe even invest. Who knows? Because that's what we have to do. We have to pay for change. Can't get it for free. It takes work. Yeah. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I don't think there's many that's come through, but what I would say as well is completely echo what you said, Ali, about giving everyone a follow and keeping up with the work that everybody's doing. There we go. Keep up with the work that everyone's doing. Also at Blis, I know Diane's mentioned, but we are partners with MIFA and Brixton Finishing School. So again, if anybody does want to get involved in those initiatives with mentoring and any bits like that, please do just give us a shout. I think it's amazing that how much we've managed to speak about in such a small time span as well, and we've actually kept it within the time frame, which, to be honest, I didn't know if that was ever going to happen. Oh, we've got one comment here. So not a question, just a comment. Thank you all. This has been so thought-provoking. Thank you to all the panelists, which, yeah, absolutely, you've all been amazing. So thank you so much. Yeah, so I guess that's everything then. We can wrap up 2 minutes early, but again, huge thank you. Please, do keep in touch with everything that's going on, and we are all in this journey together, so that's why we're having this space, so we can help share ideas and notes in terms of what we're doing. So huge thank you again.